This is the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast with your host, Greg Jameson. Influencer marketing is the process of identifying, researching, engaging, and supporting the people who create high-impact conversations with your customers. On each episode, I talk with industry leaders, business rock stars, and internet celebrities who contribute their knowledge about influencing others and growing your influence. Welcome to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. I'm Greg Jameson, and some of you might be watching the podcast today instead of just listening. If you are, you'll notice that I've got a special guest with me today. It's my friend Erin Sell. Say hi, Erin.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
So Erin and I have kind of run in the same circles here for a few years, and I specifically asked her to be on the podcast this week because there is a really cool event that's coming up that Erin's actually been responsible for the last several years here in the Denver area. She can expand on whether or not this happens in other cities, but it certainly happens in Denver, and it's called Social Media Day. So I wanted to talk to her about Social Media Day, why it is that people listening to the podcast should go, what it's all about, and really, kind of what types of businesses should be attending Social Media Day and what they can expect out of it. So welcome, Erin. Glad you're on the show with us today. And go ahead and tell people a little bit more about yourself and I guess a quick recap of Social Media Day this year.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me, Greg. So I'm Erin Sell, and I actually run a company called Socially Powered, helping businesses with their social media management, training, consulting, all that good stuff on social media. And when I started my business over 5 years ago, I had heard about these Social Media Day events happening around the world. And I started looking for something similar here in Denver and found that we really didn't have anything. And so it basically, the history of Social Media Day is it was made up by Mashable in 2010. And basically it was just, how there's National Hamburger Day and National Pizza Day and National Selfie Day. So they decided to call June 30th National Social Media Day. And so then all these events started popping up over the years in different cities. I know they just had one in San Diego. They had Houston. Oh my goodness, Phoenix. Trying to think. They're all over. But anyway, so 4 years ago, I basically said to myself, if nobody else, well, actually 5 years ago, if nobody else does it before me, I'm going to create the first Social Media Day here in Denver. And so I went to a group that I was a part of, the Colorado Women in Social Media, and said, what do you guys think about doing this with me? So it would have been 2016. We held the first Social Media Day event here in Denver, and we had about 50 people where we did a panel, and we talked about all the different platforms. And then afterwards, we did a fun networking event and scavenger hunt in downtown Denver. So it was really just a day to get out and celebrate. So after we did that, I decided that I really wanted to make this bigger and better and be able to bring more people to the event and give them more information. Because the first year we did it, it was really just like an hour or so of training. And so then the following year, 2017, I grew the event from about 50 people to, I would say we had about 200-ish in attendance. And we turned it into a full day conference. So we started it in the morning and it went all day, and we had speakers, and we actually had people from all over the world because we were able to bring in Chocolate Johnny, who is big on Snapchat at the time. Snapchat was really important then. And he's from Australia. So it was kind of cool for the second year of my event to have it be internationally attended.
Yeah, and you had some other pretty big name speakers there too. Wasn't that the year that Kim Garst joined us?
Yes, so Kim Garst was there, Joel Comm, of course. We had Michael O'Neill, Andrea Ball, Brian and Courtney Kramer, Mia Voss, Vicky Fitch, like who else? Hillary Silver. So I try to bring together people from here locally, and then other people from outside of the Denver metro area. And typically we try to cover as many of the platforms as we can. Sometimes, like I actually just realized as we're in the process of planning for this year, we don't have anything on Pinterest. But
And some people say Pinterest isn't really a social media platform anyway.
right. However, I do know, and our friend Tracy Malone would tell you this, is that it does drive traffic to your website.
Well, it absolutely does.
Yeah. So then that's 2017. So then 2018, I grew it again. We probably had about 250 people last year. And let's see, Joel Comm was the MC. We brought in John Lee Dumas as our closing keynote. We had Brian Fanzo, who I guess I can let the cat out of the bag. Brian Fanzo has agreed to come back again this year, and he's going to be our MC. So nice. I'm excited to have him back. Let's see, we had Chris Strub. Why am I blanking? There's just so many people.
Okay, so I've got a question that I know that a lot of people that might be listening to this are going to be asking. You're throwing out names that are people that are influencers in the social media space. The real question becomes, I just run a company. Is social media day for me, or is this a day for all of the people that happen to run in the same circles that you and I do to get together and have fun?
So I would say it's a combination. It's definitely a gathering of a lot of people that know each other in the social media world, but we do, the point of this conference is to bring information to business owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that are wanting to either learn about social media or how to get started on social media, or tips and tricks or tools of the trade. We really try to make it so that people walk away with ideas and implementable information, right? We want them to walk away with something that they can actually use in their business that day. And in fact, that's part of why this year I actually added workshops. So we're going to have 4 workshops that people can add on to their ticket. They'll be 90 minutes long, and it will be a more hands-on workshop where you actually walk away with something that you can use. So the workshops are going to be on content and copy, Facebook ads, Instagram and Instagram stories, and then chatbots and messenger marketing. So the idea behind the workshops is, let's just say you chose the Facebook ads, you would actually walk away with a Facebook ad created. For the bots, they'll be actually building a bot. So you'll have a bot for your business when you leave that workshop.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of chatbots, do you want to expand upon that and who your co-host is this year?
Yeah. So, and I think you recently had Carrie on, didn't you?
Carrie's been on the podcast twice, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought I saw that not too long ago. So yes, Carrie Gottschalk is my co-host. She is helping me put this all together this year because for anybody who's listening, if you've ever thought about putting on an event, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and energy to make it happen. And it's one of those things that you need all hands on deck. So Carrie is helping me this year. And she actually, I love this. She posted something the other day about how, the first year she came as an attendee, and that was, I believe, 2017. And then 2018, she actually spoke, and she spoke on chatbots. And now this year, 2019, she is co-hosting this with me and helping me put it on. And she'll definitely be speaking on chatbots as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm excited that she's doing that too, because if people have missed the interview with Carrie, I'll put a link in the show notes here too, so that you can learn a little bit more about chatbots and then go to Social Media Day and learn even more.
yes.
You're talking about chatbots, which is something that people don't normally think of, I guess, when you just say social media. Is there other technologies that are going to be discussed at Social Media Day that are maybe kind of really cool technologies, but more on the fringe of what we would consider to just be social media?
Well, that's a great question. And I have been contemplating because I know you know this, but I do a lot in the cryptocurrency space and blockchain technology. For those of you listening, you may have heard of Bitcoin, but there are all kinds of other social media platforms in the blockchain space that could potentially take over some of our, beloved social media platforms. And so I've kind of been throwing it around if I'm going to speak on those other potential social media platforms that we may see growing and coming up. So I'm still undecided on that, or if we think that people are ready for it. So that's a great question. I'm not sure people are in the space yet to think about it, or
Yeah, certainly most business owners that are not in the social media influencer space to begin with, they're just using social media because they kind of have to anymore in their business. And they are, quite honestly, most of them use Facebook.
right.
And a handful of them may be utilizing some other ones. Probably more people should be using things like you mentioned, Pinterest or Instagram or some of the other ones that are out there. But frequently it seems like a business owner doesn't really have time to be experimenting with social media. They just need to use social media because it's kind of a prerequisite for being in business today.
Right. And that's something that I talk about a lot is especially for the solopreneurs, the people that, are running a smaller, small business. I always say to pick one or two platforms, like don't try to be on all of them because it's too much. It's overwhelming and it's nearly impossible to be successful on all the platforms. So typically I say, like, depending on what type of business you're in, helps determine which platforms you should be on. I mean, I really think everybody should be on Facebook. Instagram is one of my favorite platforms. And then, you look into that further and it's like, okay, well, great. If I'm on Instagram, there's also, other parts within Instagram. So there's your normal feed, there's your Instagram stories, there's IGTV now, there's Instagram Live. So you really need to pick, which ones make sense for you and your business. Because I mean, man, if you tried to do it all everywhere, you'd be out of business.
Yeah. And most people are not in business to just post on social media. They're in business because of some other reason. They're a doctor or an accountant or whatever it is that they do for business.
Right, exactly.
So let's actually talk a little bit more about that on the other side of a break that we need to take right now. So we'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Greg Jameson, the host of the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. Every week, I not only have the opportunity, but the real privilege of interviewing experts in their field, true thought leaders, and I get to share this information with you. The purpose of this is really to help you sell more of your products and services online, which is the core premise of my primary business, Web Stores Limited. At Web Stores, we go out and we create e-commerce websites for small businesses. Plus, we do internet marketing and digital advertising for those businesses to really help them sell more online. We have a whole number of resources and tools designed to help make this process easier for businesses, probably much like yours. I've been the author of several #1 best-selling books, including Amazon's Dirty Little Secrets and The Influencer Effect, plus a whole series of online courses if you want to learn how to do this stuff yourself. The best way to remain in contact with me, besides subscribing to this podcast, of course, is to simply go to gregjameson.com/free gift, where I have a special offer for you simply because you are a valued listener to this podcast. Thanks again, and now let's get back to today's episode. Welcome back to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. Today I've got on the show Erin Sell, who is the person responsible for Social Media Day Denver. But equally as important to that, I think, is the fact that Erin has really been in this space for a long time and probably knows as much as anyone about how companies should really be utilizing social media in their business. And we were alluding a little bit to that just prior to the break in terms of what is it that companies should be doing on social media. So maybe you can give people a few pointers on that, Erin.
Well, I think the most important thing to be doing on social media is to be building those relationships and engaging with your followers in a way that isn't, you're not always trying to sell to them. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see is people just, throwing out their content and then never actually responding and communicating with the people online. And, I think it varies based on which platform you're on, right? Like on Twitter, you can kind of just throw content out there, but you still need to, if people are interacting with it, you still need to go respond. Yeah, I mean, it's really all about creating that relationship online. And that's one of my favorite things about, so last year I talked about Instagram success and some of the ways that I made that connection to people on Instagram with the event for Social Media Day Denver. There were some pretty cool things that I did. I was looking online for different things that we needed. For example, I wanted food trucks at last year's event. And so I started looking on Instagram, hashtag Denver food trucks. And just basically started reaching out to people via the DMs, the direct messaging on Instagram, and said, hey, I found you on Instagram, I'm having this event, I would love for you to come out and be a part of it. And people responded and we started conversations, got on a phone, and ended up finding 2 of my food trucks that way. So, I mean, it really does, like you can take that relationship that you start online and then take it into, doing business together and into the real world.
Yeah, and talking there about people responding, I know that uh, that is a real issue, I think, for a lot of businesses sometimes, is that they will put something out there and maybe they'll use an automation tool to create something and push it out to a whole bunch of social media sites. Let's say that it goes out to Twitter, but they never check their Twitter account. It's like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to tweet this stuff out, and you're pushing stuff out one way.
Hmm.
You really do need to have that communication going on.
Well, and I'll do a plug for my favorite tool, which is Agorapulse. And I mean, there's tons of scheduling tools out there, right? But the reason, I mean, there's many reasons that I love Agorapulse, but one of the main reasons I love it is that it actually it makes it so easy to do that engagement side of things, so you can see in one feed, of whatever platform it is that you're looking at, you can see everybody who has liked or commented or shared your content, so that it's easy for you to go back in there and give them a like back, type in that response. So you're responding to everything that comes through your channels.
Yeah. Now, another question, a little bit different subject here, but we're talking about doing all this engagement on social media, which many people really like social media. They'll kill a few hours a day on social media just because it's fun.
Yep.
But and so they're building up a list, such as it is. They're building up followers on whatever social media platform. But we've both heard this thing of don't build on rented ground. Uh, you need to get people off of social media and onto your own list.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you talk anything about that at all at Social Media Day? And what are kind of your thoughts on that in general?
So I don't believe we're talking about that too much. The majority, like what we've got planned as of right now for the event, is definitely we're going to talk chatbots. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn. I think we're definitely going to have some stuff on video, Instagram, Facebook, of course. Marketing via speaking gigs, which a lot of people, it helps build your influence. So no, not necessarily that, but I definitely agree with you 100%, is that, it is, I mean, you never know, Facebook could shut down tomorrow, and then you've lost all those people that are there. So you definitely want to make sure that whatever you're doing online, it's taking them to either your website or your blog post or your videos, and then ideally you're, like you said, getting them into your email list, so that way you can have that conversation with them off, outside of the social platforms.
Okay. So people have a lot of options with social media today. You talked about video, and they can do video certainly on YouTube uh, and Facebook, do it on Instagram and so forth. I heard something recently that LinkedIn's going to have LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, it's out. It's only available to a few people right now.
Yeah.
But it will, I mean, it will be rolled out.
So, and then, just posting pictures and posting articles and so forth. People have lots and lots of choices. What are, I guess, some of your uh, most important tips that you would give a business owner in terms of what they should really be doing on social media, how they decide what platform and how frequently they should post, what they should post, all of those things?
That is a really good question, and my initial answer is it depends. It depends on so many things. It depends on the type of business they're in. If you were, say, a flower shop, you would probably want to be on Instagram taking beautiful photos of your bouquets and, of the flowers and posting those on Instagram. However, you'd still probably want to be on Facebook because let's be honest, I mean, I tend to say everybody should be on Facebook if you're in business. And then for the other platforms is really where I would say it depends. Now, if you were a local flower shop, you may not want to spend time on Twitter. I feel like Twitter is, well, I mean, it's so fast moving, and I feel like it's more of a news source and a way to connect with like celebrities, or CEOs, executives, people that you wouldn't necessarily, like you wouldn't go try to friend on Facebook, right? Um, if you're a business that, I'm trying to think like what would be a great, let's say you're a restaurant or a chef, you might want to be doing videos on YouTube showing people how to, create these awesome recipes. So it really just depends. And then as far as the consistency of posting or how often you should be posting, again, it depends. What can you do? It takes a lot of time and energy to create the content, whether it be an image, a video. I typically don't ever recommend that you don't post, or that you post something without any sort of visual attached to it, and just posting a plain update. Those don't get a lot of engagement or interaction. But it depends on how much time and energy you can put into it, and if it's going to be you doing it, or if you have other people that work with you that can help you with the social media posting. So
Okay. So is the goal of doing all these posts for most businesses to grow their list, to make a sale, to just post to keep
well
your name out there? What's your opinion as to why people want to do this in the first place?
so I think what I always tell people is, what is your goal? And you named them. It could just be that you want to stay top of mind. It could be that I'm really trying to grow my email list to get them off of the social media platform and over onto my email list so that I can communicate that way. It could be that, you're really just trying to sell whatever product or service it is you have. So, it really depends on what you want to get out of social media, and that's something that you have to determine.
Yeah. So lots of answers are it depends,
Right.
which basically is kind of boils down to why it is I think that people want to go to social media day, is to figure out what a lot of these variables are and how it applies to your business. Before we wrap up, is there any kind of final things you want to say about social media day in terms of why it is you think people should be coming?
Well, definitely. And I just wanted to add one thing onto that, and that is whatever type of business you're in, um, usually what I recommend to people is to go like Google your competition and see where they're at on social media and what seems to be working for them. Go follow them, see what they're doing, and then don't copy what they're doing, but see if there are ways that you can, relate that back to your business. Um, so that's normally my advice there. So regarding social media day, I mean, definitely like we talked about, if you are in business, a solopreneur, small business, you're a social media manager, you work for a company that you work in the social media department. This really is just a day to come out and learn from experts in social media about what's going on. You'll get, tons of useful information, tips and tricks, and the tools of the trade. It's a full-day conference. We have partnered with Metro State this year, which I'm super excited about. So we are hosting the event at Metro State downtown Denver on October 5th. Registration is open now. It's still early bird pricing, and you can find out all the details at socialmediadaydenver.com.
Perfect. So I will make sure that socialmediaday.com gets in the show notes. Is there anything that people need to know to take advantage of the early bird pricing, or there's just a link there that they can follow?
Yep, just go to the page and there's a link right there at the top of the page. It says, I believe it says register.
Okay, that's a good word.
Yeah.
All right.
Register.
So this has been fun. Appreciate it, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
You bet. And we'll make sure, following our own advice, that we post this out in as many places as we possibly can, so that
That's right.
you can take advantage of it.
Love it.
All right. Thanks, Erin.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of 20 Minutes of Influence. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you are interested in booking myself as a speaker at one of your events, or are interested in any of my coaching programs, please visit gregjameson.com.